after 11 now here. All right, hi everyone. I'm Rebecca again. And we do the work you can see me maybe, but where I can also see this. I'm going to be talking about the history and evolution of Union Cab, which my sister actually, who also works there, conceptualized the trajectory as taking the man out of management. Yeah. And she and I kind of collaborating on things together. So let me just get started. So Union Cab, let's see, here we go, is, I'm just going to tell you the nuts and bolts about us. We are a cab company. We run 24/7. These are the city regulations. We can't refuse rides. We have to serve the entire city, and we own that building and the building next to it. It's our mechanic shop. We have 270 workers. 240 are member owners. All are employees. That 30-person differential is probationary workers. So when you first start working at the co-op, you're on a 3 or 6 month period of probation when you are not a member. So you can participate in meetings, you just can't take a vote. And when you come off probation, you are automatically a member, and you pay a very minimal buy-in to the co-op. And it's a historical remnant, but I think it's a problem because our members aren't really. We have some financial investment in the co-op, long-term members based on surpluses we've made over the years, and that's invested back in the co-op. But our initial capital investment is, wait for it, $25 for a share of the co-op. So it's token, and it's led to a situation where we don't have a stable capital base. Anyway, so we've got 80 vehicles. We converted the whole fleet of squad cars to Priuses about 6 years ago after adding one of our co-op values of operating in an environmentally sustainable way, which as an industry that runs on the internal combustion engine, it seems like, whoa, really? But we want to try, and we have rain gardens and solar panels on our roofs of all our buildings, and we're really trying to get fuel-efficient vehicles and look forward to the affordable cost of solar plug-in vehicles when they arrive. We do have minivans because there's just a demand for that, and wheelchair-accessible vans, and 15-people vans, and 2 short buses. So our business today, I'll just run you through like the business flow of what it actually takes to run this company. And the flow of like business starts with drivers checking in and getting keys. We have a bunch of different shifts, the day shift and the night shift, and then what we call drive-through shifts. And the day shift starts 6:45 in the morning and ends around 3 or 4, but some people come a little later, stay a little later. The night shift is 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. until 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. So they're 10, 11, or 12-hour shifts on the night shifts. And then the drive-throughs are from 11 or noon to 7, 8, or 9 at night to make sure we have coverage of the whole city. And then we have some circle drivers. They're 6 or 7. We call them circle drivers because they're circling the sun. They come in when the sun goes down around 8 or 9, and they leave at when the sun comes up 6 or 7 in the morning when the day drivers come in. So we come in and get our keys, go out to our cabs, and hit the road. Phone answerers take the orders, and sometimes we have as many as 6 or 7 phone answers in addition to the dispatcher. We do, on the weekend night shift, we do have some flag business, like where you can just hail a cab. But most of our business does come through phone orders. The dispatchers assign the calls to drivers, and you can see lying there who is looking at a map, a GPS map of where the cabs are, and then a list of all of the calls where the people are calling from. And he just drags a call and drops it on that cab, and we have little tablets in our cabs that pop up and say, you have a call. he knows. So the, in that picture, I think the yellow dots are cabs that are available. The red ones are cabs that are loaded but could take a call when they're empty, and there's some other colors, or it's a coffee cup that says they're on break. Then we do our shift, we meet the people, we take them where they want to go, we hopefully don't get puked on, we hopefully get paid, we hopefully don't hit anything. That's my baseline for a good shift is everyone paid, no one made a mess, and I didn't hit anything. That's, so expectations, keep them low, and everything is good. So we come in and do our way bill. A lot of this is electronic now, but there still is some paper, so we have accounts that, we have account slips, so with social service agencies and hospitals and some individuals just have an account with us because we're their main transportation. You'll see a coupon book here. We sell coupon books at 10 or 20% discount. They're $20 books, and we sell them for $16 or $18 to social service agencies, senior citizens, and people with disabilities, the people who really need our services the most. So they pay with coupons, and there's cash and credit cards.
Sorry, that lets them have a discounted cost or free ride?
It's discounted, but if they're through a social service agency, we sell them at a discount to that agency. So Care Wisconsin, they're a social service agency for people with disabilities. We sell them boxes of coupons at a discount, and they sometimes give them away to their clients, or they might sell them out. Every agency has a different, but we get paid, but at a discount, and the agency might subsidize the cost by just giving them. And that's useful because we are the only cab company that has 24/7 available wheelchair accessible vans. No other cab company has it, and our public transit, paratransit, it really is not available for a lot of hours on the weekends, and in the overnight hours they're not available. So we kind of fill in that gap.
Do you find you get a good bit of business from goodwill, that is getting the word out that you are cooperative?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Totally. We have a 36-year reputation that is based on us being a cooperative, actually, and the good service that comes from it. So cashier reconciles all the cash, which is, thousands and thousands of dollars every shift, coupons and credit card receipts. And the waybill office processes accounts receivable and verifies, verifies the information on the waybill, so sort of reconciles what's on the paper with what's on the computer records, and if we charge, if there's, if there's some discrepancy, they fix it. And this whiteboard up there, you can't see it, but they're all driver numbers and issues that they had with their waybill, and that's where they say, oh, there's like 6 or 7 different drivers having the same issue, maybe we should do a class about it, and they'll do some education of the membership about it, or they'll just call folks in one-on-one and show them what to do. So, the IT office is, all of our software was developed by a genius named Brian Hill, who was totally committed to the co-op, and he started writing this software in the late 80s, and just developed this completely custom suite of software that integrates all of the dispatch software with our human resources software, with our financial software, with our accounting software, all of it just completely integrated. But here's the problem: when you count on a dedicated true believer like him in a 24/7 company, that guy never gets vacation because there's always something going wrong, and he's like literally afraid to leave town. That guy trains people in mad coding skills to help support this software, and because we pay a living wage but not crazy tech wages, they go off and work for these bigs. They go work for Google. They go off and work for, Epic Systems, which is a big medical record software company in our town that's driving all kinds of gentrification based on crazy wages and all that. So anyway, this is a really tough nut for us to crack, because Brian Hill got really sick and had last year, and had to step back from being that guy, being that, like, we call his house if he needs a cab ride. He doesn't drive a car. We have place names for his house, and his house is the Pond of Creation. That's his house. So anyway, it's really, really, you know, you can cross-train, you can try to train, but when people keep on cycling through, it's difficult to have this amazing product in our own company, but keeping it up is difficult. So we're working through some issues around
Excuse me, ma'am. Have you thought of establishing like a legacy like mentorship program in order to get that?
Actually, last year, he and 4 other dedicated co-op people, IT people, formed a spin-off co-op called Codeversant, where Union Cab now can hire them at more going rates for the work that they do. So he's not tied into his salary. He was the highest paid worker at Union Cab and made, the most he ever made was like $60,000 a year. Like, not much for that kind of work. So this is how we're solving that problem. So that co-op can go out and get other jobs, other coding jobs, which they are doing, and being able to pay themselves more than, you know, going maybe not quite market rates for how crazy that market is, but rates that they can live with, and contract back to mama co-op.
All right. The reason why I asked this question, because, you know, while it is, you know, considered a good thing for, you know, these people to seize the opportunity and go work at these other software companies, the point being is, because this is a co-op, you need, you know, hands-on people, and quite frankly, you could use a few extra family members, so to speak. So that's why I asked, have you established legacy-based mentorship programs?
I don't know what you mean by legacy-based.
Well, you mentioned that your IT, he's pretty much been there since the 80s, correct?
Yeah.
And of course, you know, it's getting to the point where he can't really do it, you know, by himself. So even if he do, you know, get a collective, the fact of the matter is you still need, like, you know, a very stable IT group.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the way that they manage it. And there has always been 4 or 5 people working with him in the office, but he's like the master genius of everything.
Fair.
So he is doing that mentor in this co-op. So he is no longer directly employed by Union Cab anymore.
Okay.
And he is doing that kind of mentorship in that co-op. But that co-op is able to be more, bring in more revenue for themselves than they were just working for either hourly or salary at Union Cab.
Excellent.
How has Uber affected or impacted?
Can I talk about that a little bit later?
Yeah.
All right, let me go through that. Because not only Uber, but the privatization of Medicare transportation rides in states like Wisconsin and probably Tennessee. I believe Tennessee is another one of those states. There's a lot of political pressure and economic pressure from these like vulture capitalists that we have to deal with.
Good term.
Yeah. So we have our own mechanics. We have our own mechanic shop. We've got 5 mechanics, and some of our vehicles are over 300,000 miles and are just working great. They get detailed every week. They get fluid checked 3 times a week. They have, you know, the regular maintenance schedule, and it's a great shop. So finance, HR, business, and marketing, those are the people upstairs. And with all of this, sometimes it feels like running a pirate ship. Who's in charge? Nobody and everybody. And who's going to have the loudest voice? And because we do this really democratically. And so that was just a funny thing my sister put in there. And it does feel like a pirate ship sometimes. So the beginning, as I mentioned, the beginning started off with a strike action of checker cab drivers against the owner, who 2 or 3 times refused to recognize their right to organize a union. September 78, second strike in 12 months. It closed the doors of checker cabs, and what happened was the owner just kind of had a fit and said, all right, go on strike, I'm closing it down, you know. in January, 5 former workers, they got together and they said, look, the boss needed us. We don't need the boss. We know how to do everything in this company. We're gonna take it over. And so they incorporated as a worker co-op, and then they worked for that, most of that next year to do fundraising amongst their friends and families, as well as the city put in some, and our current mayor today was the mayor back then.
Wow.
He's the biggest recidivist mayor in probably US history. He started as a mayor in 1973 to 79, and then 89 to 97, and then 2011 to now. But anyway, he was really on board with worker co-op, came out of the radical anti-war student movement in Madison, and got some community development block grant funds to help Union get off the ground. But mostly they just raised funds, raised equity for their equity share from their friends and family. And October 29th, they were in business. 11 cabs and maybe, I don't know how many workers, not more than 11 or 12 workers at the time. And they were kind of limping along, struggling along, and called themselves Union Cab because of their history with trying to unionize, but they didn't actually unionize when they started the co-op. I'll speak a little bit more about that in a second. So in April that next year, fortuitously enough, I guess, for Union, the city bus company went on strike for 2 months. And that drummed up a ton of business for us, a lot of demand for us. So we were able again to get lines of credit, buy more cabs, and build up the business that way. So from day one, although they didn't affiliate with the union, they had a workers' right mindset. The founders had a workers' rights mindset. So they established shop rules at the beginning, they elected stewards, they elected a workers' co-captain, and established a workers' council to hear grievances against management. So these were actually a bunch of paranoid guys, and paranoid for good reasons, but some for, some were just, angry dudes who thought everyone was out to get them, and some of those people are still around and haven't gotten over that. But that's all right, there are angry guys, they're my life partners now. It's really funny, and I actually do love them. But I just want to point this out because internally, the way our internal procedures started, we're very much with an articulated notion of workers' rights and due process for everyone. And so we still have stewards, we still have shop rules, we still have workers' council. I'm serving as a co-captain. Is convened if a member feels that a disciplinary decision against them was either biased, that they didn't do the behavior they said they did, or that the behavior that they admit they did isn't really forbidden by policy. So there are 3 really specific grounds on which to convene workers' council, and if an appeal is made and those conditions are met, then the co-captains randomly select 5 members from the co-op to be on that council and to hear the case. And it's like an administrative legal procedure.
Where does the disciplinary action come from? Like, is there a management structure, or?
Taking the man out of management, we're getting there. It used to come from a general manager, and now it's, we have eliminated the position of general manager and flattened hierarchy and have 3 separate, like governance management and peer review systems, where members, it's a lot of peer review councils that do that, and I'll explain that in a second.
I see, so like a grievance would be, like, somebody's grievance with a disciplinary action, the disciplinary action would have come from like a
Behavior review council or accident review council.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a special council that just evaluates any accidents, and it's really elaborate and specific about how many points you get for this, and they interview the person and police reports, and it's very thorough. Behavior review is similar, a little bit more interpretive, but it's a very well articulated system of consequences for if you act like a jerk, or you're bullying, or whatever, job description failure, or the sort of catch-all one I think we have is conduct detrimental to the well-being of the co-op, and that's if you're it's very rarely that people get fired, but this one guy got fired after a complaint where, from a member of the public, he was driving a pregnant woman in labor to the hospital, and he was like, "Can I help you in?" And he helped her in, and he said to her, I mean, I'm really ashamed of this, but not ashamed because we fired him. He said to her, "When you have a baby, can you invite me over because I love breast milk?" Like,
Oh my God.
really, like, so when we got that, that was conduct detrimental to the co-op, sexual harassment, that was just,
Yeah.
that's like, no, you're gone. You are just gone. So, you know, when you have open membership, you get people like that, and that stuff doesn't come out in job interviews. You know what I mean? I mean, 2 people literally died in their houses because we weren't dealing with it. And, you know, I just, when we think of discipline and workers' rights, well, it's also like caring for, this is a way to care for each other and to really be alerted to if there's something, you know, going on with the member and how can the co-op really help them.
Hey Rebecca, just a little heads up, we've got like 10 minutes or something.
Okay.
Just a time check for everybody.
All right, so this is the whole peer review, and then we flattened out management and said, no more general manager, and this was another like 2-year discussion of what kind of management should we have. So, you know, we had comment boards, meetings, and some of these questions, you know, they're deep questions. The more authority general managers have, the less likely we are to feel comfortable replacing them, because that was an issue, because we were replacing them every couple of years. You know, like these are really deep questions that we, you know, people wrote about, we had meetings about, we really collectively took in all this input and discussed and came up with this steering team structure, which took the place of the general, so the general manager became business manager and did businessy stuff, and the steering team meets every week, and it's someone from street marketing team, hiring and probation team, HR, operations team, the finance team, and we do have a green team at UniCap, and they meet every weekend with the business manager and let each other know what's going on, and start to form recommendations for the board if policy needs to be changed, that kind of thing, and they report to the board, they're responsible to the board. So that's it, and you know, amongst these, all of these, there are at-large members of all of those committees, and so something like 85 or 90 of our 270 members are engaged above and beyond their regular job in the work of governing or managing or peer reviewing and improving the system. And again, it's just like, you go to work as a cab driver and you don't, it's really surprising to be told, you can do this, you can do that. There's an opportunity for you to be a training mediator, for you to be think about how to budget and be on our strategic plan. It's really wonderful to see people step up to that, and so, which is, let's see, UniCab, whoops, I had a really funny picture, a beautiful picture that someone took over in our parking lot with their rainbow, and we jokingly call it the Workers' Paradise or the Island of Misfit Toys. And so one thing I do want to touch on is that the absolute value of the cooperative form of business in the face of these financial pressures of privatization, pressures of, from political and economic pressures. So 4 years ago, there used to be, in most states, systems where Medicare and Medicaid transportation rides were brokered through county governments. And then the counties would, so people who are on public assistance, medical assistance, were eligible for government-paid rides to their doctor's appointments. And the county would contract with local providers to get them there. So for years, ever since UniCab was in existence, like, we know all of these customers. The county counted on us to take these folks to their medical and dental. appointments, and we know which door to pick them up at, and if it's Tuesday, they might be a little early coming out of their dialysis or whatever. These are relationships we're building in community. And in 2010, our state decided to privatize that bride brokerage, take it out of the hands of county government and give it to a company called Logisticare, which on its homepage, it says, we make profit out of privatizing government services, and they have their stock price, and they're based in Arizona, so they make profit off prison administration, all of these government-funded streams of revenue, they're making money off of. So all of a sudden, it's mandated that we have to. So if we're going to continue to, and that was 25% of our business back then, was this medical assistance ride. So in comes Logisticare, and they came to us with a contract that was below market rate, that was not going to pay us for if we no-loaded, if they made a mistaken call, we sent a driver and the person wasn't there. Really bad. Oh, we had to get drug tested, which we don't drug test ourselves. And there was something else. Anyway, so the general manager at the time said, look, you guys, this is 25% of our business. We have to sign this contract for the good of the co-op. And the membership was like, no, we are not getting drug tested, number one. And number two, why would we sign a contract that's below market rate? We're not going to do it. So we had a petition, we convened a membership meeting and came up with a cooperative decision that directed the general manager to not sign the contract, but to invite Logisticare to become one of our accounts, just a regular account, right? And the membership at this time said, all right, if we lose all of this business, we'll hit the hotels harder. They came up with a bunch of ideas. We'll expand into the service into the suburbs. We'll do this, and we commit ourselves to building up that market share. But we are not going to subject ourselves to these indignities because we're co-op and we're here for dignified work. So that's what we did. Because we did that and that was publicized, one of the other 3 cab companies at the time refused to sign the contract. The third one that did sign the contract, within 6 hours, they had an exit clause, but within 6 hours, they exercised their exit clause and said, screw you. There's someone in Miami calling for a ride for Lucille, and they had her wrong address. We know why Lucille, that's just not right. And it was totally messed up. So what we did, what our membership did there based on our values, shifted in our location, in our county, so they had no providers. So for 2 days, they were not doing what they were supposed to do, which is get people rides, because no one would provide them rides on those terms. So we forced them to sign as just regular account customers, and they did, and thereby raising the standards for everyone in the industry, not just our co-op. So that's just one really story of how industry solidarity, and I could actually in my afternoon presentation I'm going to talk a lot more about general labor solidarity. I'm sorry.
Just a question that might be helpful in our context. Because you all have, I think, a friendlier cooperative laws to some degree, I think, but if you were going to do this in Tennessee or in parts of the South, do you have any sense about how much difficulty would be either because there's not maybe the same cooperative legal structure you can do, or what? Is there anything you could say about that?
Well, the legal structure, people in states that don't have,
Free market.
okay, that don't have specific co-op statutes, you could always organize as an LLC and then write your bylaws as if you're a cooperative. So you're not going to have the legal, what I call it, the legal support of having to reinvest that 15% of surplus back in that's not going to be there, but you can write that into your bylaws.